Okay, now segueing to something a little more serious.
Boom.
First up today, e-cigarettes and our children. A recent study shows more than a third, and this is probably low, of high school kids have tried vaping in the past year. The Surgeon General now calling it an epidemic, urging parents to keep kids away. So, should you test your kid for nicotine?
Dr. John Duffy is a clinical psychologist. He's also a national speaker, podcaster, and author. He specializes in parenting and relationships. Hi, Dr. Duffy.
Hi, guys.
Good to have you here.
Great to see you.
Always great to be here.
So they say it's an epidemic now. So how do we keep kids away from this? It's everywhere. There was actually in my son's high school, there was a fire in the bathroom because somebody threw a vape in the garbage.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is a very common occurrence. Like the bathroom is a cesspool for vaping and juuling and things like that in high schools. And the Surgeon General does say, keep your kids away from vaping and juuling. That is so much harder than it sounds because these things, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's very easy to acquire these products. Kids trade them, they buy them from each other. They're tiny, they're stealth, and they're cool, you know? So everything works against parents. So the only thing I've ever run into that works at all is to have an open, ongoing, weekly discussion, not a lecture, but a talk about, like, you know, the perils of these things, why this is a bad idea, why this is the fight I'm willing to take on with you.
Yeah, see, I prefer lecturing over a discussion, but I always like
Pretty
that
good.
point.
I like to berate my kids over food.
Yes, right.
I find it works.
But here's the thing about vaping, it comes in cool flavors like cotton candy, and tropical berry and things like that. Plus, like you said, they look fun. I believe they're directly marketed to kids. I mean, and I think a lot of people believe that. I have a friend who I won't name who said, my kids don't vape or smoke because I taught them not to. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, I think a lot of parents believe that that's true. But if your kid, there are these tells that kids have. If suddenly they're like, I'm going to go walk the dog, or I'm
Nice segue.
You know what?
Right?
It might be worth letting it go. Yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
Yes, kids are, it's not that difficult, honestly, to lie about this. And this industry has jumped into us, into our lives in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's very hard for parents to react. And we don't want to believe that this is something our kids are engaging in, right? So it's easy as a parent to be in denial and to think this is something for other kids. But I got to tell you, this can be the honor roll kid at the top of the class just as well as the kid in the lowest 20%.
Yes,
Easy.
things have changed. We called them burnouts when I was in high
Right.
school.
Burnouts.
It's not.
I remember that burnout.
It is not. It's probably dating me.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot of kids, and they say 4 million middle and high school kids are vaping right now. And here's the other thing. There was a story about a 15-year-old boy who was in rehab because he was hooked on vaping, the nicotine, and spending $170 a week on vaping nicotine. And that's the thing parents should know too. When you give your kids money, and kids have access to money differently now with things like PayPal and Venmo and your debit card and things like that. So you don't always know how it's being spent.
Exactly. So right, if you're trying to track cash, you're barking up the wrong tree. And there's trades. Kids can trade this stuff for other things. So, you know, if a kid wants to vape or juul, they will find a way to do that. And really the tell is looking for that shift in behavior. If you're a parent, that's what you want to look for. If you see something dramatically change, it's
like
worth.
What? What might they all of a sudden
They might
act like?
sneak up and hang out in their bedroom. They might hang out with a completely different group of friends, right? They're secretive. They don't tell you what they're up to or what they're doing. And oddly enough, if they buy a new backpack or a new sweatshirt, these are odd tells, but sometimes these things are made to conceal vapes and juul.
What?
Honest to God.
Oh my! So what are you supposed to? I mean, when these kids are taking this in, what is it? What is the effect that nicotine has on a younger mind, a younger body, and the biochemistry therein?
Well,
Great question.
It's a great question, and it's a question that kids will find research. So on Reddit and some other websites, they'll find research that says, oh, this is way safer than smoking cigarettes or smoking marijuana through a joint or something like that. The truth of the matter is that's not true, and we don't really know what the long-term impact is. But I suspect that it's really profound, and that we're about to find out 10 years from now that these kids have some cardiovascular issues. And I really believe these are the gateway drugs. So we've worried about gateway drugs in the past. I think this stuff is the gateway drug to smoking marijuana and even harder drugs going into the future. So there is a cautionary tale here.
Right. Yeah, and their brains aren't fully developed. You've told us that many times before. It's not until their mid-20s that a lot of boys and girls, their brains aren't fully developed. I'm interested in knowing what parents can actually say that you think will have an impact, because I think they're wondering, is this really dangerous?
Right.
And the answer is it's gotta be. If kids are consuming a lot of nicotine, there's no way that it's not. And I think parents aren't gonna smell it like traditional cigarettes.
No, it doesn't smell. So parents can do a couple things. First, you model a drug-free lifestyle. That's easier said than done, but they're going to listen to your model way more than they're going to listen to your lecture, even if you like lecturing.
I'm good at it.
Lecturing in segues, that's our thing.
Right, exactly. An ongoing open discussion. Hey, what's going on in your school, in your class, with your friends, and with you with regards to vaping and juuling? And if you're doing it, tell me what it does for you. Maybe we can find a more adaptive way to fulfill whatever need you think that fulfills. And if you have a hard time getting there, watch media. You know, Beautiful Boy was a film that came out last year, right? That was about drug use. And it might feel like it's way beyond the pale, but actually it's not that far beyond the pale for a lot of these families. And Google it and like compare articles and debate it with your kids. Open the dialogue instead of closing it and just saying, you can't do this.
And you always say, too, listen as much as you can without judgment, about criticizing their friends, for example, or putting them down for doing it, but just truly listening and trying in a non-judgmental way, because that's the way you're going to get information.
Because it's hard as parents not to take this stuff personally. Like, you know, you're doing this to test my parenting acumen. You know? But kids don't do this for that reason.
It's great advice. It's a tough time to be a parent, I think, with cell phones and technology. And now vaping. People can listen to your podcast, which is wonderful. It's called Better. They can find out all about you at drjohnduffy.com. I love it when you're here. Thank you so much about tackling this topic again.
Thank you, guys.
And we didn't even get to testing. Should parents test?
Right.
Really quick, are you a fan of that? Or
I'm not a big fan of that. Because it's a trust issue, right? You create this air of mistrust. However, because it's a health and safety issue, any parent that's inclined to test, but be prepared that that test might very well end up positive.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.